Okay, welcome to my first video for ITM 387E Mobile Commerce and Mobile Apps Development. Dr. Halverson wanted me to try and make a video for the first assignment, build your first mobile app. So, having some experience, I wanted to try it out. So I said, yeah, definitely. So, what you have to do is go first to the assignments page. Hopefully, what I'm going to do basically is walk you through the instructions that are already here, but just make a YouTube video. So if you want to follow along, you can click on the video and you can, follow the steps and get right through. So what we have to do first is open the instructions. Okay, this is building your first app. And you also have to open Appery. So go to appery.io and then log in with your username and password, and you should be taken to this start screen. So I have the instructions open on a different monitor, and so this primary monitor will be the just what's being filmed. So as you watch, you'll be able to see the steps, and hopefully we'll get through it pretty quickly. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we need to do is to create a new app. What we're going to be doing is building a mobile app that displays a list of data from a cloud database. And you can read the instructions for a little bit more detail. So let's start by first, one moment, creating a new app. So click on Create New App. And we want to name it Warehouse App. So type Warehouse App. And click Create. It says the project already exists, and I think that's because we're all linked to the same account under Dr. Halverson. So we can just name it maybe Warehouse App and like our first name. So mine would be Warehouse App Davis. I'm going to create that, and we're going to create it from a template, leaving all the defaults. So just click Create. It takes a little while, but what it's doing is generating the framework for the app. So this is the initial screen. What we want to do first is locate the left menu over here and then Pages. We want to expand that area by clicking on the arrow here, and then we want to go to the Start screen. So by clicking on it, it will open up the Start screen. And as you can see, we have all our controls, our user interface design, and the properties. So what we do first is we click on the app header, and we want to change the text to Warehouse App in Properties. So if you look over here in Properties, we want to change the text to Warehouse App. So that's going to change the title of our app up there. And it's always a good practice to save as you're working. So over here you click Save, and it just saves your project. Just so if something happens, we get disconnected, you don't lose your work. Next, from the palette, so over here, the palette, these are the different controls that Dr. Halverson talked about earlier. We want to drag and drop the list component. So let's look for the list right here. List component, drag and drop. Okay, Okay, so what the instructions want us to do, and I'm just reading straight off the instructions, is to change it from a 3-item list to a 1-item list. We do that by looking over at the properties list, and then we go down to items. You see items right here? So there are 3 items, item 1, 2, and 3. We actually want only item 1, or 1 item. So we'll decrease this to 1, see 1, and then apply. And what that does is it removes 2, it just has 1 item. Okay, to select the component that we want to do, if we want to select the header or we want to select the item, what the instructions mention is that we have to use the breadcrumbs to navigate. So if you look on the top over here, these are the breadcrumbs. If you click on mobile list, oh, it's already mobile list. You see the red line around here? That's mobile list too. But if we wanted mobile container, we click that, and then you see how there's a border around the whole container. Or if we click start screen, it's the whole start screen. If we click the header, then that's a mobile header. So that's basically how breadcrumbs work. Okay, so what the instructions say is, what we're going to do first is we're going to load the data from a database that we create using a REST service. And what that's going to do basically is display what's in the database over here in the item. So right now our page looks like this. What we can do is test the app in the browser. So if we click test, it saves the project, and then it pulls up a preview on another screen of what our app would look like if it were to be, available to the public. We can click back, and we can actually make it available by clicking this test options and then making it public so other people can see it. And it says if your mobile preview doesn't launch at first, it may be because pop-ups are being blocked. Make sure on your browser to enable pop-ups for the domain appri.io. So I went ahead and did that for Firefox. I'm using Firefox, but Chrome's another good browser. Safari has some compatibility issues, but so the suggested is Chromium, Google Chrome, or Firefox Mozilla Firefox. Okay, according to the instructions, what we have to do next is create a database. So what that entails is that we click on the database button in the top right of the menu to open the database page. So this is the database button right here, and it'll open a new tab when we click on it. So now what we're going to do is create a new database and a new collection. And we're going to populate the collection with sample data. So right here we click on create database. And we enter the title of our database. It's going to be called Warehouse DB. And we'll click create. It says Warehouse DB already exists. So when you do that, it's going to pull up the database. So what I'm going to do is delete this database and then just start again. So one moment. I'm just going to pause it. Okay, so I went ahead and deleted the database I created earlier when I did the same project. I'm just redoing it. And so now I'm going to create the same database, create it according to the instructions. It's going to be called Warehouse DB. And I'm going to click create. And this is sort of how it's supposed to look. So what we want to do first, we've created the database. We want to create a table within the database. And that's what Apri calls that is a collection. So we're going to create a new collection by clicking on this green button here. And then for the name, we're going to name it goods. Goods, goods. Click add. And as you can see, the new collection goods is listed here under collections. And then each collection has a set of built-in columns. What we want to do is create a new column by clicking the plus COL. So this button right here, plus COL. We want to call it item. And we want to keep the type as string. Click create column. You should see the new column listed in the collection. So right here, do you see item? That's the new column that we created. Now what we want to do is add some instances or some entries into that column. We populate it with data by clicking the plus row button right here. We click in here. And we'll use the example from the textbook. It's first is coffee. And then we add another row. You gotta click it twice sometimes. Tea. And cold drink. Okay. The next step is we're going to create a REST service to read the data from the database to do this, we have to move back to the app builder. So right now we're in the database builder. We go back to the app builder, this start screen, and we want to create new up here. And what we want to do is database services. So if you scroll down, look through the menu, database services are right here. We select warehouse DB. It's the only option from the list, and we want to expand the goods collection. So here's the goods collection that we have. It's the only one. We expand it. And these are the available methods according to the instructions. We only want to display data. In our case, we're not creating anything. Like maybe we did in another app where we add things to the database. This is just a list. So we're listing things on our app, so we just select list. Oh, that didn't go. Click the box over here, list, and then import selected services. So we go to import selected services. And as you can see over here under services, two services pop up. I think the one that we're going to be using is this one, the first one, the top one, warehouse DB goods list services. So what we do is we open this up, the first one, warehouse DB goods list services, list service. And this looks familiar. This is the interface. We have the settings. It has the URL where it's linked to the request response test. We want to switch to the test tab. And we can test the service by clicking test right here. See if it's working. And as you can see, the objects that we created earlier, coffee, tea, and cold drink, appear. The next step to complete is to bind the service. What we have to do is go back to the start screen. So open the start screen. And we want to switch to the data tab. This was a little confusing at first, but right now we're in design mode. We're designing basically the user interface. When we want to go to data mode, we go right below design to this tab here and we click it. We want to add a data source and we select the type is going to be service according to the instructions, and we want warehouse DB goods list service. We click add and the service has been added to the page. Basically, the instructions say the system generates two mapping actions for before send and success events. So as you can see here, there's a before send mapping and a success mapping. What we're going to focus on is we want success mapping. So we go to success mapping and we click on that, and it pulls up these two columns. What we need to do is make sure service response is checked over here and page is checked over here by default. Sometimes these defaults are different. You have to follow the instructions and make sure the right ones are expanded, or your app may run into some technical difficulties. So basically what we do is we want to expand all on both sides. And what we want to do is link the one on the left, the $ with the hard brackets around the I, to the mobile list item 3. So it's basically right across. And the item to the mobile list item text. The instructions say mapping the $ right here, hard bracket I, to the list item gives us an automatic looping feature. It will allow you to display all items from the database. So as more items are entered into the database, they will be, once we hook it up, they'll be displayed on your starting page of the app. Item is the name of the merchandise, and it's mapped to the text property. So this will actually return the actual text that you'll see. So all we do is click save and return. Okay, now what we're going to do is we'll close the events so we can see. The instructions want us to start invoking the service. So we have to go into design view. Right now we're in data view. We go to design view and select start screen in the start screen in the breadcrumb. So up here, start screen. Open the events tab. Here, right over here. And we want change the event to page show. So right now we have component start screen. Event is on load, but we want page show. So let's scroll down right here, page show. And for the action, we want to select Invoke Service, because initially when the app is open and it's shown, we want to invoke the service. And it's going to be, from the data source, it's going to be REST service 1. It's the only one there. Select save. Okay, running the app. Right now we're going to test the app, so we can close this down. We want to test. And what this does, it will run it in the browser, and it's not a simulator, it's just an idea. And we have it right over here, mobile preview. As you can see, we have the title that we put in, and in the database on the back end, we entered these 3 items. Because we hooked it up, now you can see coffee, tea, and cold drink. If we were to add any more to the database, then they would automatically be loaded here. Okay, so right now we have the framework, and it's about 20 minutes so far. This is a good point to stop. In the next part of the video, we're gonna add a few more features, so please stay tuned. Thank you very much.